Well, the news has come out that Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the ISIS leader, is now dead. I just want to say first and foremost, that is wonderful news. It really is. But of course, politics. No one can just simply rejoice in the fact that an evil man is dead. We still have to have a lot of political infighting. So the first thing I want to take a look at is a clip from when Trump gave his press conference. President Trump did a press conference on it. And then the issue of who did he notify came up. We're going to look at that. And then after that, I'm going to try to tough through a clip from MSNBC and Chris Matthews where they discuss the issue. So let's take a look.
And have you notified the congressional leaders about this, Pelosi?
We've notified some. Others are being notified now as I speak. We were going to notify them last night, but we decided not to do that because Washington leaks like I've never seen before. There's no country in the world that leaks like we do. And Washington is a leaking machine. And I told my people we will not notify them until our great people are out. Not just in, but out. I don't want to have them greeted with firepower like you wouldn't believe. So we were able to get in. It was top secret. It was kept. There were no leaks, no nothing. The only people that knew were the few people that I dealt with.
Inform Speaker Pelosi ahead of time?
No, I didn't. I didn't do that. I wanted to make sure this kept secret. I don't want to have men lost and women. I don't want to have people lost.
So, here's where the problem comes in. Now we get to the heart of the matter. Donald Trump didn't tell the Democrats he was going to go do something. And they don't like it. Okay? Now, on theory and on principle, yes, I believe there should have been communication. I really do. There should have been communication that we were going to do an attack. And here's what the possible outcome should be. But only a fool would believe that the Democrats would not have still tried to use something if he had told them. Now, whether or not they would have leaked this particular issue, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. It really would. I know everyone's trying to play this holier than thou card right now, which is, oh, how dare he say that the Democrats would dare endanger our boys. Oh, so Democrats wouldn't endanger our boys? Or then how come Democrats and Republicans keep sending our boys to fight in wars we have no business being in? They don't mind sending them off to a war to go die just so we can, interfere and be the world's police or try to take over a country because, they don't want to be on the petrodollar anymore, or because we just want their oil, or because we want their minerals and their mineral rights and everything else. No. Because God's on our side for the war, right? So we're doing the morally righteous thing here. Our boys should, no, of course not. So they don't care sending our boys off to war to go die for corporate interests in the military-industrial complex. Don't hand me this crap that the Democrats wouldn't have possibly leaked this out just as a way to spite President Trump, that they would have too much concern for the boys. That's a load of bullshit. I'm going to have to let the cuss words fly on this video because that is just a load of bullshit. Period. Plain and simple. Okay? I try to not use a lot of foul language when I do these videos, but at this point, when you expect me to genuinely believe that the Democrats or the Republicans would be that morally righteous, even though right now it's a Republican president, so it's the Democrats who obviously have the spite game out here, who would leak just to spite this president. Now, while they might not have done it with anything military related, they certainly have leaked everything they could get their hands on, including when ICE detention raids were coming around to deport illegal immigrants. We're going to blow the whistle and let them know that ICE is coming. So, really? No, anything they can do to hurt the president, good or bad, they're going to do it. They don't care. They only care about the politics. So if you expect me to believe otherwise, sorry, I'm not going to. I'm just simply not going to. But because he didn't tell them, which, by the way, he doesn't have to tell them. But on theory, if we could at least be halfway corrigible for the sake of the American people and for the good of the country, yes, he should have informed them. However, I completely understand where his concern was in not telling these vipers. They would have sold him out in a hurry if they thought there would have been some political gain to it. It's my opinion. You can disagree with me if you want, but that's my take. So now, let's tune in to see what the so trustworthy MSNBC network and Chris Matthews has to say about it.
Wake of yesterday's successful raid on reviled terrorist and ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, President Trump headed to Chicago for a victory lap.
He's dead. He's dead as a doornail. And he didn't die bravely either. I will tell you that. He should have been killed years ago. Another president should have gotten him.
Well, Trump, missing an opportunity to unite the country, has kept up his attacks on Democrats and defended.
I want to say, first of all, that's another criticism, like where he threw in that Obama should have got him, blah, blah, blah. I don't even want to really go too far into that. I mean, maybe it was just try to hype his base up in his rally or whatever, but, I mean, there's really no point in that. I'll elaborate on my personal thoughts about that a little later on in the video, though.
His decision to keep them in the dark about the raid this weekend, accusing them of being so untrustworthy that they would put American lives at risk. Trump first made those claims during a 40-minute rambling news conference on Sunday, where he divulged operational details and made unfounded claims about Osama bin Laden.
He died after running into a dead-end tunnel, whimpering and crying and screaming all the way. And Washington is a leaking machine, and I told my people we will not notify them until our great people are out. I mean, al-Baghdadi, everybody hears because he's built this monster for a long time. But nobody ever heard of Osama bin Laden until really the World Trade Center. A year and a half before the World Trade Center came down, the book came out. I was talking about Osama bin Laden. I said, you have to kill him. You have to take him out. Nobody listened to me.
Well, late tonight, NBC News is reporting that President Trump, according to current and former U.S. officials, quote, got a few of those colorful details wrong. Many of the rest were either highly classified or tactically sensitive, and their disclosure by the president made intelligence and military officials cringe.
Of course, the military officials and the deep state cringe when you talk about things that actually went on. They don't, for some reason, want the American public to know what they're doing behind the scenes. They did this with Osama bin Laden. You know, I still have questions about that whole issue, too. Call it me being a conspiracy theorist if you want to label me as one. I don't really care. You're not hurting me any, you know. Everybody's got a right to their own beliefs, in my opinion. And if you really want to attack me because I'm questioning my government, I would just like to remind you that Thomas Jefferson's own words, dissension is the greatest form of patriotism. But even with the Osama bin Laden thing, stuff never added up to me on that. Back when 9/11 happened, we're talking about a man here who was supposed to be on dialysis. living in a cave in Tora Bora, Afghanistan. Meanwhile, they find him all these years later with a house full of women living in a Pakistani compound. And they go in and they kill him, yet we can't get any proof. No video, no pictures, no footage. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think we got some evidence on Saddam Hussein. If I'm not mistaken, I think we got some evidence, even though we didn't carry out the attack, when they got, what's his name from Libya, Gaddafi. Okay? We saw that. Couldn't see nothing on Osama bin Laden. I question that. I really do. A part of me honestly wants to wonder, was it just something for political stunt and political theater? Which I'll get back to in just a moment. But Trump is at least floating the idea of releasing some proof about Baghdadi. Okay? Whether he does or not remains to be seen. If he does, I'm all for it. But this deep state just doesn't want the American public to see virtually anything. Okay, and another thing that the MSNBC here is clearly trying to frame is that Trump did say, I think back in the 90s or whatever, yeah, we should be getting Osama bin Laden, right? And he's trying to say, well, no one listened to him. No one listened to him. So, Bill Clinton, okay, and he talked about this in an interview on Fox News with Chris Wallace some years ago. Okay, at the time after 9/11, there were a whole lot of people on the right wing and the Republicans who were trying to come out and nail Bill Clinton to the wall over here, saying, well, you didn't do enough to get Osama bin Laden. You should have done more. You didn't do enough. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, and there's been this story floating around that he had the opportunity to get Osama bin Laden, I think in Sudan, and didn't take it, or this or that. Whatever the issue there is, okay, that's what the right wing tried to come out and frame. But Bill Clinton tried to defend himself, and he came back and pointed out, okay, so let's talk about that, for example. I was trying to do X, Y, and Z back at the time, and then the Republicans and the right wing were all trying to tell me that I was doing too much. You're doing too much. This is too much. You're wasting our time. You're wasting our money. This is too much. Okay? Then after it all fell apart and 9/11 happened and they blamed Osama bin Laden and said it was him and Al-Qaeda who carried out the attacks, it was the Republicans trying to blame Bill Clinton for it. Okay? So yes, while people knew who Osama bin Laden was, there wasn't the microscope on him with people taking him probably as serious as they should. They didn't think that he would really be able to do much. It's like, oh, that's just some, bearded terrorist wearing a turban over in the Middle East somewhere. He ain't gonna bother us. We have nothing to worry about. That was their mentality. And then, of course, something happened, and they had to try to find a scapegoat to blame it on, so they tried to go with Bill Clinton. So while people may have been aware of him, I think Trump is actually accurate. No one was taking him as serious as they probably should have, at least at that time.
Joined by Jeremy Mash, former chief of staff of the CIA and the Department of Defense. Michael Beschloss, NBC News presidential historian. I don't understand, but I do understand why this president takes a moment of success for America. ISIS was evil. It beheaded good people. It was a horrible, horrible reality, a caliphate from hell. Everybody should unite around this. It's success. We always like success. And he's turned it into a weird kind of torture, like how he enjoys the guy's demise and how some sort of street fight has been won by the good guys and how poor and chicken the guy was who died. And who cares? He's gone. And then to go after Trump, going after Obama again. What's this about?
So break down just what Chris Matthews just said. And this is a pretty lengthy clip, so I'm going to have to let it play for a little bit longer intervals of time. But I see two sides to that argument. I see a lot of the, what you might call red-blooded patriotic Americans saying, yeah, we want to hear that. We want to hear our leader get up there and brag about how he killed well, not he literally, but this country finally beat this evil terrorist. Brag about America's might. Talk about our strength. and send a message to people like that. Yeah, you think you're going to screw with us? This is what you're going to get in return. I see where a lot of people feel like that America has sent the signal of being a little too weak over time to some degree, and so we should probably establish to the people who want to do us harm, hey, we're still the United States, land of the free, and the home of the brave. Okay? There was rumor back during World War II that the reason that the Japanese didn't want to invade the mainland United States after the attack on Pearl Harbor and try to really invade, I can't remember where I got this, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I think it would definitely have been true at that time, and it could have been in their thought process, was that their military general for Japan had said that it would be foolish to attack the U.S. on their homeland because there's a gun behind every blade of grass. And whether that was actually said or not, I don't know. I haven't even looked it up, but it certainly would have been true. And so that's the thing. Of course, and we've gone through the whole gun debate issue. I still think they're a vitally important part of this country. And I do think people are blaming the wrong root cause of that whole issue, but I'm not getting back into that. Let's focus on this video. So I do see where people are wanting to send that message out to Al-Qaeda, to ISIS, whoever. You come to us, you try to attack us, whether it be at home or abroad, America is going to whip your ass, son. So get ready. I see where a lot of people want to get that message sent out to them. I understand where they're coming from. However, on the flip side, I also see the argument that is reckless rhetoric, because we're not just dealing with an average bad guy. You're talking about a society of people who don't fear death, who don't fear killing themselves. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe al-Baghdadi blew himself up, as the reports that I've read. They didn't kill him, they didn't capture him, he blew himself up. Okay? So they don't fear death, they don't fear dying. They have this religious conviction that it's actually an honorable thing to go out that way because you'll be rewarded better in heaven because you died in a jihad. That's their whole mentality. So, again, while one of us may be sitting there saying, okay, we're going to send this strong message out, and I get where a lot of Americans would sit there and say, yeah, that's right. You tell them, Mr. President. These people are sitting back probably fuming at what has taken place. They're already probably wanting to attack and get revenge for this. And they don't care if a lot of them get wiped out in the process. One guy'd probably strap explosives to him, go run up into the most crowded place where some military's at if he possibly could, and just blow it up. Even if it killed him, if he could take down just 3 or 4. They wouldn't care. Now you go out there and try to demean and attack and make their leader, who they probably looked up to almost as much as Muhammad or Allah, okay? And now you try to smear him, run him down through the mud, which I'm not saying he was a great guy by any means. God knows it was horrible. And it's a good thing he is dead. I'm simply talking about the tactics here. You start insulting their dear leader, you're just infuriating these people. And again, they don't fear death. You're only fueling their anger and making them want to attack more and make the attack even bigger. I mean, it's kind of like Trump's old thing when they said Mexico wasn't going to pay for the wall, and they said, what's your response? Oh, the wall just got 10 feet taller. Okay, yeah. You attacked their leader, our attack just got 10 times bigger if we could pull it off. That's what's going on here. So I see both sides of the argument, but I do think that while a lot of Americans probably want to hear that victory lap, at the same time, while it might feel good, we feel like we've won something, we're not dealing with the type of enemy that, just like a regular old criminal on the streets or something. These people don't have that mentality. A lot of them don't. Now, I'm sure there's a few who, when push came to shove, would choke, not want to lose their own life as a result. But that's not the case for a lot of these fanatics. They are literally that indoctrinated with this belief. They think that if they follow through with it, it's actually going to be a better reward for them. Okay, so you really have to take that into consideration here.
What's this about?
Well, there's no honor in spiking the football or doing an end zone dance.
Hot dogging it.
Yeah, hot dogging it when this should be a moment of national unity. And our compliments should go to the military and intelligence
and the
professionals.
Dogs.
Right, and those that supported them on the ground, put their lives on the line. And this isn't about, whether or not a previous president should have done better. I remember in the hours after the bin Laden operation was successfully completed, I was at CIA. The first person I called, because my boss, Director Leon Panetta, told me to, was I called General Mike Hayden, who had been George Bush's CIA director. I said, General Hayden, tonight we are standing on your shoulders, the shoulders of all the men and women for the past 10 years who've been pursuing this target.
It's like the end of the Cold War. Harry Truman started the Cold War because we had to. Reagan ended it. Okay. Maybe Bush ended it. But, it was both sides.
And everyone gave credit to everyone as well they should have. And this is a tradition that really goes back to the night of Pearl Harbor. After Pearl Harbor, Franklin Roosevelt invited the congressional leadership from both parties to come to the White House and talk about what they do next. That tradition went all the way through the Cold War and the post-Cold War era. Looks as if it's another that may be going by the wayside.
He also asked Wendell.
And the difference is while there there was political divide even back in those days. There's been political divide ever since there's been two parties. There was political divide when they were trying to write the Constitution in the first place. Okay, so there's always been political divide. And politics, I'm not saying they always played fair either. But there was at least still some sort of semblance on how can we work together to do the right thing for our country. That's not happening anymore. MSNBC is trying to frame this whole thing like, well, why he's just letting a tradition go because I don't know why. The country should come together. The politicians should come together. And this freaking old Trump man. I don't know what his problem is. Well, what's the Democrats' problem? What's their problem? Why, when Trump actually does something that we could all agree is a good thing, they want to turn it into some sort of a bad thing or a failure, all for political purposes? I get you don't like this president. I get you think that your wicked witch Hillary should be sitting in the Oval Office right now. And I get that you want to beat him in the next election. But when the man actually has done something, or has been involved somehow, some way in his administration, has been involved in something that is a good thing, it does not matter. They're going to turn it into a bad thing, all to bash him and try to promote themselves. Party before people.
Wilkie to cut a deal with the British before the war. He took the guy, he beat it in the election. Let's talk about this Pelosi thing, because Pelosi's an honorable person. Whatever, she's obviously partisan, no more partisan than anybody else in Washington. A smart, patriotic person. In his statement today, Pelosi said the House must.
We can't go no farther. Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, an honorable person. An honorable person. Nancy Pelosi, who wouldn't try to impeach Bush and Cheney for, I don't know, freaking war crimes, okay, and she knew about it, but wouldn't pursue impeachment on either one of those jackasses. But she's going to run with the impeachment on Trump and go with an issue you could literally impeach Joe Biden almost from day one over. Probably should have been impeached as vice president over if it actually been investigated back then. So yeah, that's honorable. And of course she's partisan, but she's no more partisan than everyone else. So here's the difference. You've got people on the right who are partisan to populist right-wing ideas, and you've got people on the left who are partisan to populist left-wing ideas and more or less the actual people. And then you have people on the right and the left who are partisan to frickin' corporations and big money. And those are the worst of the damn worst. This is a video that's going to rile me up today, man. Like I said, I don't like to try to use a lot of cussing in my videos. Unfortunately, you can't listen but to just so much of the bull that the propaganda media here wants to spit out. Nancy Pelosi is so honorable. She's a stand-up patriot. She's freaking crooked. She's crooked and she's dishonest and she should be out of office and she has no business being the Speaker of the House.
Be briefed on this raid, which the Russians, but not top congressional leadership, were notified of in advance, and on the administration's overall strategy in the region. The statement is reminiscent, of course, of remarks she made directly to the president earlier this month when she asked him why all roads lead to Putin. Now, a great moment when she pointed across the table at the president and said, why does everything lead to Putin? Why did he tell Putin before he told the Democrats?
Well, I think
this raid, Putin.
I think he was probably trying, his military officials were trying to deconflict the airspace.
One other thing before I let this guy respond. Typical MSNBC. Russiagate died a while back with the Bob Mueller report, but not the MSNBC. Oh, no. Now we get to go for two collusions. We get to hit him on Russia whenever we can find something to hit him with on Russia, and we get Ukraine. It's a great day at the office if you work at MSNBC. This Russia thing, Jesus Christ, I mean, it is so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous how they just keep beating the drum of Russia. Good God. Please, for the love of God, if someone wants to send this video to CNN, MSNBC, or whatever, I mean, I doubt they're going to pay me any attention, but I really don't care. Please shut up about Russia already. Bob Mueller could not find any evidence in his report. You know what else kind of a road points to Russia? That we've put more sanctions on Russia since Trump has been the president. We've not exactly done what Russia wanted us to do by carrying on the war in Syria. Now we're pulling out, and of course they're saying, "Oh, that's what Russia wants. That's what Russia wants. That's what Russia wants." Again, well, I'll talk more about that in a little bit.
They could conduct the operation. But it points up to the larger point, which is although the law may not require it, the better practice for a president in this case is to brief the congressional leadership on both sides of the aisle. Certainly don't just brief one party or the other, because ISIS doesn't care whether you're a Democrat or a Republican before they come to blow us up.
So I'm just going to stop it right there. At least this guy told the truth. Like, yeah, he probably talked to Russia because he wanted to make sure there was no issue with us going in. That's called smart military. We don't want to get shot by a Russian plane or something trying to go in there, perhaps. You know, like, really? So that's why he had to talk to Russia. Not because he had to go and have Vladimir Putin drop trowel so he could kiss both cheeks of his butt to figure out whether or not he would get the Kremlin's permission to go do it. That's not why he contacted Russia. Period. Okay? I mean, really? So now let's talk about my personal feelings on this matter. Now, is the ISIS leader dead? In this case, I'm going to tend to believe so. I had my doubts about Osama bin Laden. Just because if he was really on dialysis, supposedly, back when shortly after 9/11 happened. I don't see him living that long in the conditions he would have been living in. Okay. Also, the fact they never would release any evidence of it, that's a little skeptical to me too. Why? Why no evidence? And then the whole burial. They had to bury him within 24 hours according to Islamic tradition, but from my understanding, you get buried at sea if you died at sea. The Islamic thing is to make sure you're buried facing the east. Oh, but no one would take his body. Well, so why are we affording these religious rights to a guy who attacked our country? Who cares? Who cares? No. I would have rather had evidence this freaking piece of crap was dead. So that I was very skeptical about that. But I'm also skeptical, not in the sense that I don't think Baghdadi is dead. I'm skeptical in, isn't the timing awful convenient? Which people said about Osama bin Laden's death. Isn't this timing awful convenient here all of a sudden? This assassination on a guy we've been trying to get since 9/11 that Bush and Cheney launched all this war over and could not get. Okay? They couldn't find him. They couldn't get him. And then just when it came up re-election time, we get him. Okay? That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay? Now, we're going to start withdrawing some troops in Syria. And the mainstream press has not exactly been a fan of that idea. Oh, it's so horrible. We're leaving the Kurds out to die and blah, blah, blah. But we've just negotiated a ceasefire with Turkey, and that's supposed to have, brought that whole thing to an end. But whatever. They had to attack us for not continuing to pump military, action into the Middle East in one aspect. War. Got to keep it going. The advertisers don't like when, Raytheon can't make big money off war or something. Okay? So, they didn't like the fact of what he was doing. The Democrats and a lot of other people have been trying to rail against him. Some of them have anyway. Saying it's irresponsible and it's reckless and it's this and it's that and it's the other. Okay? And so, me personally, I feel like they've kind of more or less came to the conclusion the public doesn't really support these wars. Trump administration wants to get out of it. What I have to honestly question, this is just speculation. Did they know where this man was this entire time? Did they really just so happen to stumble across this information after they're starting to withdraw troops and whatnot? Is that really the case? Maybe it is. Maybe that's exactly what happened. But me, I have my reservations on believing that one. Personally speaking, sounds to me more or less like we went over there. While we did take a lot of stuff back from ISIS, they were saying that the whole ISIS battle isn't over yet. Well, now he takes their leader out. Looks like a big victory for Trump, for his administration. No one can really argue about him pulling out now. We've killed their leader. We've taken the ground back. What else do you want us to do? Okay. And as bad as that is to think that we could have been sitting on top of this information all this time and not doing anything with it and not going over to attack him, I've heard far worse. You go back and look at Operation Northwoods and look at what the military wanted to do. Okay? So, but believe what you want to on the matter, but it wouldn't have surprised me. And the other thing is, the Democrats, when I say they would have played politics, whether he called or whether he not, now whether they would have leaked or not, I'm not sure. Again, it wouldn't have surprised me. But when I say they would have played politics, they would have come out right away and had come out and said that, that when he notified them about going out to carry this attack on Baghdadi, look at this. Look at what he's doing. Why is he carrying out more attacks in the Middle East? He said he wants to withdraw the troops. This is more signs this president can't make his mind up. He doesn't know whether he's coming or going. One day he wants to withdraw, the next day he wants to attack. This man's too unstable to have his finger on the button. Blah, 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 blah. They would have, if he'd have called and they didn't leak, they would have just sat there and tried to use that as a talking point, probably. Okay? It doesn't matter. So, quite frankly, at the end of the day, it's like this. Trump didn't notify him, and I don't blame him. But it's a good thing that that lousy POS is dead. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Independent Report. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up and like the video. Also, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to ask or topics you'd like us to cover, please drop a comment in the comment box below. And also, please subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe, ring that bell so you'll stay up to date when we drop new videos and you'll get notifications of it. And also, please support us on Patreon. Funds are going to be used to grow and improve this channel so we can reach more and more people and spread the message that the mainstream media doesn't want to tell people. We hope you'll tune in next time.